Many hundreds of millions of years ago, life was confined to the oceans. Life began in this watery womb, and here it would diversify and spread out across the seafloor, across the currents, and across the seas. The first life forms to make it out of the sea were photosynthetic microbes. Having been washed upon the shore by the current, they created layers of green slime along the coast. Divergent bacterial colonies would produce stromatolites, and the bravest of them all clung to life as they were swept inland by the waves and the wind. This coastal contamination by bacteria was eventually followed by some adventurous ancestors of the fungi, whose mycelia slithered out from the ocean and crawled across the barren landscape. Their saprophytic physiology released chelating chemicals into the rock, breaking it down into flakes and granules. And this biological degradation of the rock, combined with the dust created from erosion and the biomass created from dead fungus and dead bacteria, created the first soils. Soils, especially the organic material within the soil, are able to hold on to rainwater, unlike bare bedrock. The plants were able to quickly follow the fungi out of the water by exploiting the comfort and the nutrition of this moist soil medium. After the bacteria, the fungi, and the plants had established themselves on dry land, it was finally the animals' turn to come forth from the sea. The first animals to transition onto dry land were invertebrates, like coastal crustaceans, insects, and arachnids. These small creatures transitioned from the muddy ocean floor to the muddy coastline to the muddy land, finding new opportunities as they burrowed into the soil and hunted around for food. Now, these forays onto dry land began as brief trips out of the water. An individual would leave the water, scurry around on dry land looking for whatever resources they're looking for, and then they would return to the ocean. But as the animals evolved and became more comfortable on land, their forays got longer and longer, until eventually some branching lineages were able to stay on land entirely. They didn't need to spend any part of their life cycle in the ocean. Among these animals, one of the first groups to explore out into the land were the scorpions, and this brings us to today's news. Recently, an absolutely ancient fossil was discovered, containing the preserved remains of two scorpions. These were given the species name Perioscorpio venator. Dating methods determined that the fossils were from the Silurian period, making them around 437 million years old. In fact, they take the title as the oldest land animals ever found. In the scientific paper describing these fossils, in the abstract, they say, quote, "This is the earliest scorpion yet reported, and it shows a combination of primitive marine chelacerite and derived arachnid characteristics. Elements of the circulatory, respiratory, and digestive systems are preserved, and they are essentially indistinguishable from those of present-day scorpions, but share similarities with marine relatives. At this early point in arachnid evolution, physiological changes concomitant with the marine to terrestrial transition must have occurred, but remarkably, structural change in the circulatory or respiratory systems appear negligible." Unquote. Some of the primitive characteristics include compound eyes, while some of the more modern characteristics include a weaponized tail spine. As if to reinforce the transitionary nature of these early scorpions, the authors also say, quote, "Whereas there is no unambiguous evidence that this early scorpion was terrestrial, this evidence suggests that ancestral scorpions were likely capable of forays onto land, a behavior similar to that of extant horseshoe crabs." Unquote. The lead author of the study, Andrew Vendruff, said the best part about this discovery was that the scorpions could actually breathe air, which is a major and critical difference between life that lives in the sea and life that lives on the land. Vendruff said, quote, "Prior to this, all of animal life is in the ocean. This is the beginning point of animals leaving the seas to utilize land." Unquote. I love discoveries like this. I love getting these glimpses into the ancient past, into a world that was.